Hey, babe. How's it going?
Good.
Stop flirting with me.
Welcome to Marriage Monthly. We're Gabe and Melissa Kolstad, and we want to help you build a healthy, lifelong marriage. We get together every single month with a podcast designed to just give you practical tips to help you grow in your marriage, and we can't wait to spend some time with you.
Okay, we're talking about vacation, happy vacations, fun vacations.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Like actual vacations?
Like taking a vacation.
It's way deeper
How
than
to
that.
do it.
Yeah.
And we're talking about vacations and memories and why it matters and all of those things.
Okay,
Why
let me
don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'm going to start out. Okay.
Hey, babe, how do you start us off?
Okay, I'm going to start us off.
Okay, you do that.
Okay. Okay, but seriously, I'm watching TV. This was like several months ago, watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear this thing, and I'm always radared for any trip thing. Like Gabe knows,
sure.
anytime there's a vacation, a trip, anything, I'm like, oh, what? And so
I know. I'm like, our credit card is tired. I was thinking that this last time.
No, it's not.
But it's tired.
It's
But
made for this.
We
always pay it off.
It's paid
I
off.
paid off every
It's
last
paid off.
bit of our last trip. Okay, let me finish. This is so funny. I hear randomly that you can get to Copenhagen from Portland for $430.
What? Let's go.
Right? That's
Yeah.
exactly what I
I
said.
know.
So I instantly tell Gabe, okay, we're going to go to Copenhagen in October. And then I instantly
I'm like,
text
wait,
my
are
best
the
friend.
tickets already booked? Because I got stuff.
Then I messaged my best friend, and I'm like, oh, okay, what do you think about Copenhagen? And she's like, heck yeah. So we planned it. So we did it in October, and we were there for 17 days. And part of the reason I wanted to go to Copenhagen is because everybody in Europe, if you talk to anybody that's actually European, they say Copenhagen is like the coolest place to go, the best
was
city
really
in
cool.
all of Europe.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me be the judge of that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, it was really cool. But the other reason I wanted to go there is because I've always been curious about Sweden, and Gabe is Norwegian. And so we're going to do a little Scandinavian thing. So that's how it worked out. And so, and if you know that, if you ever go to Europe, you know that you can take a train everywhere.
Everywhere.
For
Well,
super
almost
cheap.
everywhere.
Pretty much.
Not
so,
to the island of my heritage.
no, you got to take a ferry to
Yeah.
that, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's why we did this. But then we just started thinking about the importance of spending time together and making memories together and adventuring together. And we just thought, you know what? Let's chat about our trip. So that's what we're going to do.
About it.
So,
Yeah, and we do get a lot of questions,
Yeah.
particularly you, because you post about a lot of stuff like
Yeah.
this, about like, well, how do you find the time, find the money, find the ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things. And because I think deep down, everybody wants to make memories together. Everybody wants
Yeah.
to explore or adventure or at least have those unique times together. And we're going to talk about why that matters in
Yeah.
just a couple minutes.
Well, we were talking about two kinds of vacationers, though, remember?
Yes, there are two kinds
There
of
are two kinds of
vacationers.
vacationers.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the vacationers that want to just go somewhere and veg. Just lay out in
Yeah.
the sun all day long by the pool and read a book. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what they do. Then there's us who wants to have a million different things happening every single day because we
got a
adventure hard.
list.
Like we come home tired from a vacation because I'm not going to miss anything.
Yeah. I always explain it like we vacation so that when we get home, our normal life seems easy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a couple of things about this, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about was just the importance of making time and of making time to make memories, because we know that it's even like our life. It's a Tuesday as we're filming this.
Yeah.
I mean, Tuesdays we barely see each other,
Yeah.
even though we're doing this podcast together. It's been crazy town.
Yeah.
We got more stuff tonight.
Working all day long.
Working
yeah.
all day long, often into the evening, and and our weeks are very busy like that. But then we got our Mondays, right?
Yeah.
And so we've carved out these times. But vacation is just like another longer time to do that when you can periodically. Like I know a couple actually in our church that they take every quarter. They take I think it's 2 or 3 days, and they go away every quarter, which is like that's
Beach
nice.
or
It's like
seaside,
predictable.
something like-
It's on the schedule. So the importance of making time to make memories, I think, is super, super big. There is a verse that I wanted to point out, because this is
A Christian podcast.
Christian podcast, right? And it's for everybody, but
Yeah,
it's based on the Bible and Jesus and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that when you have faith and you believe that what God says about marriage, the importance of marriage, the sanctity of marriage, like our goal in even doing this podcast is we want to help people have healthy, lifelong marriages, and that includes a real intentionality around this.
Yes.
Because what I've found is that making memories and taking time together, it doesn't happen by accident.
Nope.
Like you got to fight for it, right? You got to work for it. You got to prioritize it. And so we're going to share some of that stuff. But Ecclesiastes 3:13 says, "And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God."
Yeah.
That's great, right?
Heck
It
yeah.
basically says take a vacation.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the problem is that we have people who, in most marriages, I think they would admit they're time starved. There's a book out there called The Time Starved Marriage. Most marriages are time starved. Even if they're not so busy, what happens is that people are, it's just that we're not taking time face to face, eye to eye, hand in hand. We're not doing all the work that leads to this. And I don't want to steal any of the stuff you're saying. But I just want to say I believe and have observed that when couples will prioritize these very, very significant times together, and families too, of course, man, it gives you some like relational capital to draw back on. I mean, let's say you have a hard day, but 3 months ago you had a world-class memory-making time together.
Yeah.
You got something to go back to and go like, okay, we've got some wind in our sails. We can make it through this hard day. Or maybe even a bump in the road with marriage. You got something that you did. You got something that you're going to do. There's something powerful about that draws you together. So
yeah, I think memories make roots.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's really important. But also thinking about planning a trip or planning to be together, like you were saying, intentionality. I think that's part of it because you're planning together, you're talking about it, you're hanging out together, you're looking on Expedia, which is what we use. You're trying
because I have this thing about the points, and
we get points.
I want to keep getting them. So I'm
we get free hotels and stuff. But anyways, so I mean, adventuring together is lifeblood to me. Like I am an extrovert, I'm an adventurer, I like to go hard, and so it's a huge deal. But part of the thing that I do when I'm on a trip, so I can remember, and I am super old school, and people make fun of me, but I take tons of pictures, and all my pictures have people in them for the most part, people that I love.
Not me. I take random pictures of like a bench.
You do. It's so weird. I know. Renee and Kirk took tons of pictures of buildings and stuff too. Yeah. Tell me what any of those buildings are now, and I'll pay you $50. See, that's what I'm saying. So it has to have people in it. Like otherwise, it's dumb. So, anyways, but like I don't mind having a picture in front of a palace, but I want a person in front of it, so it's a memory with that person. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, but I actually print my pictures off and I put them in a photo album.
I know.
That is correct.
Oh my gosh.
I'm on number 99.
I thought it was 100.
No, I looked the other day.
Okay.
This album that we just finished was 99. So
99.
Almost there.
Guess everybody guess where those albums are. Just see if you can guess. Okay, I'll tell you. They're in our closet.
They're in our closet. It's very crowded. We don't have space for clothes. Yeah. It's photo albums. No, but seriously though, it matters to me because just so everybody knows, several years ago, my computer crashed and I lost everybody's pictures, all my kids' pictures for the first I don't know, maybe 15 years of Dawson's life. 5 years of Caleb's life, 7.5.
Of them?
Yeah, all of them are gone. And so I was thanking God that I had those photo albums upstairs. Like I was so happy that I did that.
Now, of course, we have Google Photos and all that stuff, but it's not the same.
I trust nothing.
I know she's
I trust no tech.
Thinks it's all going to go down, and it might.
It's all
it could.
Down.
It really
Anyways,
could.
and I'll have them still.
Yeah.
All my babies. Anyways, but so I actually do that. I put a photo album together. I take notes on our trip, and then I post on social media. I know some people are like, well, if you're busy posting, you're not really enjoying your trip. Okay, that's bull, because it's really, really important to me, and I do it at the end of a section of a trip, so I'm not posting constantly every day.
Yeah.
But like our time in Copenhagen was 4 days. Then I posted about Copenhagen. Then, I'm on a train ride for 5 hours. I'm going to mess around and post. But those are like photo albums. Mm-hmm. Like seriously, my Facebook is a photo album of my children's lives. And I'm so thankful that I have pictures and memories of my kids and Gabe and our adventures and my dog. I miss my dog. All that stuff. And I'm so thankful that I have that. So don't be afraid to post because that's literally a photo album. You'll have it forever. Well, unless Facebook goes down.
Okay, but let me point something out. If you are somebody who's like, we want to get better at this is the time you should take that pen and paper out and take these notes because Melissa is honestly a pro at this stuff.
I'm not going to lie.
I'm the beneficiary of it because I like doing it. But I don't know it would be a lot different if you didn't plan it all and you didn't, I mean, we plan a lot of it together, but not the details.
See, but you have a good memory. You remember things. I forget everything. So I take pictures of everything so I don't forget anything.
Okay.
So it's kind of a weird thing. And
you're a pro.
I'm a 50-year-old woman, so I forget everything. So at any rate, I think adventuring together is huge. Memory making is roots, and it brings your marriage together. There's so much benefit to this, you guys. So I think go on a trip together, even if it's just 3 or 4 nights away to Seattle. I don't care. There's ways to be cheap about it. We'll talk about that later, but make it a priority. I mean, we have nothing fancy in our house because everything we want to do is on a trip.
Yep, that's true.
That's how it rolls for us. Anyways, go ahead.
So let's talk about finding your roots because one of the things...
This was so good.
Yeah, one of
Tell
the
them
things
about
that
it.
happened. And so, we were talking about this episode being a little bit... Let's tell you about some fun stuff that we just did, only because we can't help but share it, but also maybe this might give you some ideas for your own stuff. Finding your roots is so cool because, as an example, Melissa is Italian, and we've been to Italy a number of times. One of the times we got to go to the town of Loreto, which is where your great-grandfather was an orphan and dropped off on the step, get this, of a church in this hill country town of Loreto.
Beautiful.
It's like this picturesque place in the region of Pescara. Abruzzo, I'm sorry.
Which is
by
the big
town
town
of
is
Pescara.
Briscata. Yeah. But let me say,
Okay.
I got to bring the kids there.
Yeah.
And it was magical because my kids got to see the roots there.
And I don't know what it is, but when that happens, there's something you can't explain that you're grounded by that moment.
There's something about that.
Yeah, and it's a good thing, but also does connect you to your heritage, and absolutely families can do that together. So cool. And though I'm not Italian, I adopted Italy as my favorite place to go a long time
it's
ago.
awesome.
It is awesome. But this time we went to Norway,
Your
and
area.
that's where my great-grandfather was from. And we went to Oslo, but then we went to Bergen, which is like on the west coast of Norway.
Cutest town.
Absolutely
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
That happens where my great-grandfather boarded the ship to come to the United States through Ellis Island in 1902. And so I was very curious about this, found out that in this town, well, first of all, there was this guy that said he was from Singapore and he had never been, and his family's from Singapore. And so he went to Singapore, and he said he got to the hotel, he laid on the bed, and he had the best night's sleep of his life because he's like, I'm home. He just knew something that, there's something about that grounding.
There's something about
So we
it.
get to Bergen, and I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. But then we found out that my great-grandfather actually lived a 5.5-hour ferry ride from the town we were in. You could only get to it by a ferry boat. There's a farm there named after our family.
Yep.
Apparently, you can go stay there. So, I was just all geeking out and
So
was like, why
much.
didn't I look at this first so we could have gone and done it? But anyways, there was a lot going on for me that was very, very cool. And it's fun when you can go explore that stuff for each other because it means so much to the other person. So Melissa's cheering me on and all that, even though I was totally nerding out
I
about
was so nerding out.
about,
and now he's like, I'm
Norway.
bringing the kids back.
I am. Going back to Bergen. And then we're going to go to
And we're
the
taking a
island of
5.5-hour
Svenoja.
Yep.
Everybody say it with me. Svenoja.
Svenoja.
Yeah, that's the one.
Their language is crazy up there.
It is. So, but finding your roots is great, and you can do that through
So
exploring.
fun.
You can do that on a car trip, to the next state if that's where you're from. You could do that by going. We've done it where we just go back to some of the, like on a date night.
Yeah.
Go drive back to some of the places where we've had great connections before, or some funny thing happened, or that kind of thing. Show each other, where we the house that we lived in
we'll
before.
go over to Canby once in a while because when Gabe and I first met, he was living in Canby, and we'll go over there and ride the little Canby ferry across the Willamette just for
the
fun.
river.
And
Yeah,
then
it's so much fun.
we'll ride bikes over to where I lived when I was a baby. And so I was born in Emmanuel Hospital, but my parents for the first 8 months of my life lived out in Vernonia.
So
and
that's
so
like,
we'd
what,
go out
40
there.
minutes out?
Yeah. So we'd go out there and look at the house that my parents lived in, back then and stuff, and where I was my first 8 months living. So it was that kind of stuff's fun.
It is.
It's super cool. I love it. Anyways, I think that this whole topic is traveling, I think opens your mind to new things. I think that it teaches you other cultures are great and what they have to offer. I think one of the most enriching things we ever did was took our kids overseas.
Yeah.
Because I think that it expands their mind in a way that it just doesn't happen hanging out in Aloha, Oregon 24/7.
Yeah.
And so there's something about that. I mean, Caleb, our youngest, he went to Indonesia. Caitlin went to Guatemala, 4 times?
4 times, yeah.
Dawson did Guatemala and Ecuador. I mean, and then of course they've been to Italy a couple times. Dawson lives there now with his wife. And so, I mean, there's something about taking your kids and exploring together other cultures where they can see that the world is such a fascinating place that you can learn so much from every place. And it's just fun to get out of your comfort zone. I know. I mean, we have chased some trains. We have gone on the wrong trains. I mean, transportation is by far the hardest thing you do when you're traveling in another country. But
which I think maybe like practical
so
tip, budget more time for the transportation than you think you'll need. Because,
and more money.
Because
it adds up.
You're probably going to get lost.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be frustrated, right? A little bit if you're going to do a big trip.
But there's something about it that just opens your mind to the world. You're like a citizen of the world, as people will say, instead of just of your narrow little place. I just think it makes you more open-minded.
For sure.
Makes you more secure in yourself. It makes you appreciate where you're from. Because everywhere I go in the whole world, when I come back home, I'm like, oh, I love it here. Look how beautiful it is. I mean, we're in Portland, Oregon, if you're listening here, and we just, we have the gorge, we have the mountains, we have the beach. We are in heaven here.
It's beautiful.
It's rainy season, so I'm a little irritated right now, but
I smell a trip to Phoenix coming on.
Oh, you smell it so hard. I'm out of here. But anyways, I have been on Expedia recently looking at some things, but anyways, but it opens your mind. It's great.
Credit card is tired, babe.
No, the credit card's wide open. There's nothing on it.
Okay. Opening your mind is really important. One of the things that we wanted to get into on this is not just the value of doing this, and I hope that everybody hears that really clearly. For instance, let's say you're listening and you're engaged and you're listening to this because somebody told you there's a podcast that's going to tell you everything you need to know about being married, right? I hope that you would say that about this. But what I would encourage you to do is do not delay that honeymoon. That is so important. It's so important.
Crazy.
And a lot of times people delay weddings because they think we can't pay for that $30,000 wedding.
Ugh.
Okay, then do a $3,000 wedding and get it done. They think we want to go to this, huge honeymoon and it's going to cost too much, so let's put it off for 2 years. I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, the 2 years never comes.
Never
right?
comes.
It just never. It's like 3, 4, 5. I talked to somebody the other day. It's 10 years since they've been married.
Come on, wow.
And they're just now going on a honeymoon. And I'm glad they are. I mean, go as soon as you possibly can. But the thing is that it would accelerate your growth together to go on this because you are together,
Yeah.
Like I keep going back to, for some reason, Puerto Vallarta is one of the best places we've been together.
We love Puerto Vallarta.
And the last time we were there, we stayed in the romantic zone. And I just remember we were on that beach by that weird bridge thing that's not really a bridge. It's more like some sort of thing that jets out into the ocean a little bit. But we were walking on the beach holding hands, and it was just one of those great connecting moments, and you can go back to those times all the time, and it just draws your hearts together to have those. Like you get this bank account full of things, memories, special times, and they don't all have to involve expensive travel. But I think that making time to make memories is really the key here.
I mean, you're going to spend money on something. Like, come on.
You are.
Like, I know people that are spending $1,200 on 2 cars and insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and that might even be going cheap these days.
That
honestly.
could very well. But I'm just saying, like, then there's fancy things at the house and all these fancy clothes, and I mean, like date nights that are costing $200. Like, just don't do the expensive date nights for a few months, and there you go. You got a trip.
Yeah.
Because you got to get out of your regular routine. That's my point here.
Right.
Like, get out of your regular routine, because that's when the memories get seared in your brain. And it's like, oh, remember when we did this? Because it was totally out of our normal routine. It was totally different and crazy. We climbed a waterfall one time in Jamaica. That was so cool. I have so many cool memories of that, of those moments. Anyways,
what about the lighthouse that we went up to this last time?
In Mazatlan?
This last time in Como. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And we took the train up this funicular.
That was really brutal.
It was brutal.
We got lost.
We were a little bit both mad at the time, but then we get to the top of the hill, and it's like the best views
we've
ever seen.
You can see the Alps.
Yeah.
Like,
you can see the Alps from Italy. Yeah, it was great.
It was amazing.
Anyways, but those things you're not going to find in your hamster wheel of the normal things that we do, right? And so, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But here's a bonus. How do we do this? We already mentioned a couple of times, live simply. And because the thing is, I'm a pastor. We have to be pretty careful with like our budget and our income, and so we live simply. We do. I mean, like if you went to our house, it's nice, it's clean, but we don't have the latest, greatest everything, and we don't really care because for us, we've been in the same house for almost 18 years, I guess now. Our mortgage is super cheap. We like it that way. We've thought about moving, and then we compare, and we're like, I don't want to double.
You can't even get a one bedroom apartment for the amount of our mortgage right
can't.
now.
Yeah,
and not to mention, I had a $1,000 wedding ring on my finger until year 26. So because I kept
$1,200 wedding ring.
Was
Thank
it that
you very much.
Wow. Yeah. I'm just saying, I didn't want. Gabe kept saying, "I want to get you a ring. I want to get you a ring." Yeah. I'm like, I'd rather travel. Yeah. I'd rather travel.
And again, nothing wrong with having a fantastic ring right out of the gate. This isn't about right or wrong, but it is about let's figure out how we can prioritize. And so we're just sharing, how do we do it? Because we have to choose. Do we have nice things or do we travel? Mm-hmm. And so for us, we've chosen, let's live a little more simply. Well, for one, because we also want to give. We give very generously. Mm-hmm. I'm not ashamed to say that. Mm-hmm. And we travel pretty widely. And so there's a reason why our TV's, one of the smaller ones I've seen at anybody's house in the recent past.
But I think God blesses our side hustles and things like that because we are so generous to Him. Yeah. In His church.
Yes, and we got other things that we do to create a little bit of margins,
and then that's what we use for trips and stuff like that.
And honestly, what we do is every week there's an amount of money that comes out of our paycheck that goes straight into a travel account, and that's that important to us, So that's how we do it. Yeah. The second thing would be budget for it, and that's kind of the idea. Would be, well, how do we have money that we can put in a travel account? Well, we live on a fixed amount that we spend on things like gas, food, bills, utilities, entertainment. So those are all fixed amounts. So then we can also put a fixed amount towards this, and that's it builds slow, but when it builds, it's like, okay, now we can do something with it, and so we just took this 17-day Northern European trip to lots of places. I don't think we were even keeping track of what we were eating in terms of like, oh, should we buy another croissant? Should we buy another ice cream? We just did it, and we got home, and it was all paid off. And so it's nice to travel. It would be a bummer to come home and have like a bunch of debt we got to pay off for 6 months.
It might be stressful.
Yeah, that'd be super stressful. So I think doing it in advance is the way to go. But budget for it, super important. And then the last one I would say is just having a work-play rhythm where you realize you cannot be tightly wound all the time. You cannot be going all the time. You cannot work 24/7, 365.
I got some friends with 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And there's seasons for that, right? But one of the things we both see all the time is everybody thinks everything is a season, but it ends up being a lifetime.
Yep.
And that's really hard. So maybe for some of the people that are listening or watching this, it might be a little bit of a wake-up call to go, what if you break the cycle by taking a vacation and then work that into your normal rhythm? Yeah. Frequency might depend. I didn't go on a vacation as a kid. I didn't really know what they were until we got married, and on our first anniversary, we went to Kansas together, up top, right here. That was so
our
fun.
Best friend from college lived there, so we went there. That was a cheap trip.
I spent almost nothing, but it was the first time I had ever done anything like that, and then we started doing it very regularly. And I don't know if we've done it every single year, but I'm sure even in small doses, maybe we've done something at least every year. But work-play rhythm is really important, and it doesn't start with a vacation. It actually starts with a day off. I mean, if you're not taking a day off, really that's the place to start, is to do that. Because then on that day off, what do? You sleep in, you eat bad food, you hang out with your spouse, you make sure that you feel that connection, that they feel your love, that they hear your love, that they see your love. You do those things so that it puts gas in your marriage tank for the next 6 days, because truth is we need that. But then the maybe let's call it an annual time to get away or quarterly, whatever you want to do. Same thing. It just puts gas in your marriage tank, and we need that. We all need that. Marriage is tough enough. You need a little extra oomph.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And then practically speaking, we have a mileage card where we get points for free trips. We use Expedia exclusively generally because we get points. And so all that stuff adds up if you're trekking around. And then all of a sudden our kids got free flights down to Cancun for their honeymoon because Caleb got that mile card and racked it up, paid it off at the end of every month. And then, it's brilliant. It works. Yeah. So there's some tips and tricks that you can do and find these good things on, even Groupon has some stuff. Like there's ways to get going and have some fun together, but make it a priority. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope that's a blessing to you. And thanks, babe, for being such a good vacation planner.
Thank you. Travel. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to share and subscribe and join us every single month. This is your counseling session.